So, guys, we're really honored to have Bucky O'Neill here today for the Brotherhood podcast. And I know it's early for everybody, but it's really early for him. He's in Newport Beach, California, so it's 6 a.m. his time. And about an hour ago, he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, I'm not feeling too well. Can we maybe do it later?" And I was like, "Oh man." So I know you're going through it, bro. So thank you for getting
All
on here.
good.
I'm feeling great. But Bucky, really quick, man, I wanted to let everyone know here because we were talking about we might see you tomorrow, at David Meltzer's event. But I never found out from you. Like, I met Bucky and his wife in April with Randy Garn, and you guys, everyone on here knows Randy. Randy's a big reason of why this Brotherhood even started. So like, could you tell us before we go into your story and everything, how did you meet Randy? Because that's always a great question for everybody. How did you meet Randy?
Yeah, so I met Randy as a referral. I knew his name from the industry. I've been in the personal development and speaking industry for a long time. So just being in that industry and knowing some of the names within that industry, and hearing Randy's name passed around, I just reached out to him to connect with him, knowing that we were growing a similar type of business, and if he could support us in some mentorship.
That is awesome. Yeah, man. And then we met actually in Utah. And then we've been hanging out with Meltzer, David Meltzer. That's why we might see Bucky this weekend. So Bucky, that's great. I never knew that. Never had a chance to ask you that. And then we were actually in Park City at another party with Randy. Okay, that was awesome. And yeah, man, and I know one thing about Bucky. He's always wearing Gucci. Like every time I saw him, you're Gucci out. So and I love the Adidas jacket. That was awesome. I really wanted. I never had a chance to talk to you about that because I wanted that. But yeah, yeah.
Did you hear the story about the Gucci Adidas jacket? Have you
No,
heard that story?
no, I did not. Tell me. Tell us.
So here's a story with Gucci in general. I was living in Nashville and we were running events during COVID, which was amazing. And we had this spike of success as far as our business, and we were making more money than we ever made. And part of the thing that the Gucci kind of thing inspired was this regulating of raising a standard of what it looked like. I think every once in a while, when you hit a new threshold, it's important to raise the ceiling around what it is that you're creating from a financial perspective. And that's not just true financially; it's also true for all areas. We made a relationship with the person at the Gucci store, and we started going there just for the experiential quality of it. Like, yes, the shopping was fun, and yes, the clothing was good, but there's this experiential quality that was coming from it that was really, really beautiful. But long story short is I ended up getting that Adidas jacket, and when you saw me in Utah was the first time that I wore it. And
Oh
then
wow.
Baron Baptiste came up to me and he was super excited about it. And he was like, "Man, that jacket is so awesome!" And I just had this overwhelming feeling inside of me to give it to him, and I did.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so that was the story about the Gucci Adidas jacket. Is the first time I wore it, I ended up giving it away.
And for those of you who know, guys, Baron Baptiste is another Randy Garn connection friend. He's actually he literally is like the founder of yoga. He was the one like he's actually owns yoga. So that's where we were at. We were at a party with Baron for like it was awesome for Forbes Riley, and that was wow. So you gave him the Gucci jacket.
I gave him the Gucci jacket, and it became this thing. And it wasn't, there was no other intention other than, when I saw his face and I saw his excitement, I just had this feeling like it was the right thing to do. And so that's what I did. And, I guess it will go a little bit into the conversation about, following your intuition and doing the right thing and making sure that you're in alignment with a greater resource outside of yourself. And that where you're operating from is just not the X's and O's. It's not just the numbers and the game of life, but there's a bigger game outside of the logical and rational thinking when it comes to business, family, relationships, so on and so forth.
Yeah, guys, and just get ready for the bomb dropping session. Like, pay very close attention what Bucky says. Yeah, he just Alex, you're gonna love it. He just like his answers. That's me and Aka were this thing with David Meltzer, and he was on this panel, and all these entrepreneurs, high level entrepreneurs, were asking questions, and I was recording him. He had some just incredible answers that I was like, oh, I love that. Like you talk about alignment. So I really hope that you guys get a lot of what Bucky's talking about. And one little joke for everybody. I saw Bucky wearing some nice Gucci shoes. I think the next time I see you, I'm gonna have to tell you how much I love your Gucci, whatever you have.
Exactly. Oh, man, that Gucci is awesome.
Maybe I'll get hooked up with a wallet or some kind of shirt. Yeah. But
A
yeah,
hat,
man. Yeah, right
sports
on.
coat.
Yeah, brother. So yeah,
Yeah.
so let's what I love about the Brotherhood is like we want to hear your story, bro. Like as I know
Yeah.
like I know everybody like has a story and I'd love for you to share it with like I'm so happy you and your wife are crushing it with your business. I could see that everyone that I talk to just they rave about you. To talk about like how did you get started, but like give us the quick like 5 minute version of the struggle.
5 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes, whatever you want to say. I was
No, no, no. 5 minutes is
yeah.
long in my world. Um, yeah, I'll give you a little bit of story. So, I grew up in the personal development industry. My father was a speaker and a coach, and I was literally the little kid that was being passed around the workshop. I remember being 4 years old and doing my first fire walk on the shoulders of my father. I can remember times when I was a kid and we were at these different places. It reminds me of the event we were just at, actually. And I'm kind of just going to divert here for a minute. We just hosted a fire walk in Nashville, where we did 40-foot fire walk, but we brought the kids out. And I can remember having that same memory of like being in this like rural setting and looking outside the cabin and watching all these people transform. But I remember being 4 years old and being on the shoulders of my father and doing that fire walk and then peeking inside the workshop room, and really watching transformation, right? And really watching that process take place and really being touched and moved by it. I became a coach when I was 17, a speaker when I was 22. And for probably about 10, 15 years, I spoke all over the world professionally and ran anywhere from 2-day to 10-day residential programs for students, parents, teachers, entrepreneurs, 16 hours of facilitation a day for probably, again, for years. Trained, hundreds of facilitators, thousands of coaches, and then, found myself in an interesting place. I found myself, in a new marriage, living in Bali, running a property management company, teaching on the side and feeling like, I had to compromise a lot of who I was in order to be happy in a marriage. And, long story short, 7 years later, and a lot of challenges and a lot of ups and downs and a lot of ins and outs of trying to be the right person, found myself in a divorce, and started to come to this place of like really questioning, and it, honestly, it started before it, but, questioning, you know, how can I move differently in my life? How can I move in a way that's more aligned? How can I prioritize alignment over vision or over goals? For me, the personal development industry is all about this idea of having control over your life, right? When I was 19 years old, I got a tattoo on my leg in Mandarin that says "Create Success," and that was my thinking that if I was going to be successful in my life, that I was going to have to create it. And again, there was a science to achievement. There was things that I could do. There's ways that I could build my life and the ways that I can build the patterns of my life in order to create the things that I wanted. But what I found in all these different dynamics, especially with my divorce, was that, as much as I tried, as much as I designed it, and even if I did all the things, and even if I achieved the things that I thought that I wanted, it was still lacking this sense of real fulfillment. And I don't mean fulfillment like happiness and joy. I mean fulfillment like alignment to a greater calling. And that, I just did a TED talk, not just, but sometime last year, I did a TED talk that was associated to this story. And it was associated to this phrase that my father used to say to me all the time. It was like, Bucky, you can always make things happen, but you can't always make things work. And for a long time, I didn't know what that meant, right? Like make it happen versus make it work. But I learned throughout my lifetime that there was a big difference between, me making it happen from my own perspective and my own ambition and my own will and my own drive versus having it work in the sense that I'm aligning to something that's greater than myself. This idea of creating success or creating momentum or staying in your highest alignment. Sometimes we feel like we have to create it, where one of the things that I've learned over the last, couple decades, and one of the things that we teach now and that we've been practicing at a really high level is this idea of, what if you didn't have to create success? What if you didn't have to create your purpose? What if you didn't have to create your momentum? What if you could just align to it? And that your work was about aligning to a energy and a flow and a direction that was already in existence rather than trying to create it for yourself. So that's the work that we do now. We help coaches and entrepreneurs to build multi-7-figure businesses that are based around lifestyle. So, this idea of 100K months, working 15 hours a week, only doing the work that you love in the calling of your divine purpose. And because the structure for that is due to this idea that, you know, we love our work and our work's really important for our human evolution and the impact that we have in the world. But ultimately, it's not our entire life. So we have families, we have passions, we have careers, we have other things that we're involved in that allows us to be the best version of ourselves. And if we're only prioritizing work, then I think we're kind of missing the boat on what life is really about. So that's the work that we do. That's a little bit about the story.
Bro, that's depth right there, guys. I hope everybody's paying attention and taking notes. Right, Alex? Depth. Thank you, Bucky. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what that reminds me, Aka, when we were listening to Bucky at the workshop, when Meltzer, it was like everyone had great answers. They really did. But it was like, man, I felt bad for the other guys that had to go after you because I felt honestly, me and Aka were talking about that. So that's we're all working guys, but I love that. Thank you. That was great.
Good.
Yeah, man. The next question I have for you is, so explain, like you're saying you work with these entrepreneurs
Yeah.
from all over, like, you know, all over the world and the fire walks, like, what are you mainly helping them with? Like, I know you talked a little bit about finding the alignment, but a little more detail, like
Yeah.
one of your workshops, what would they get from coming to that? What are you helping them with? Go for
Yeah,
it.
the biggest thing, you know, if you look at, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And you look at the bottom rungs and you look at uh you know, survival needs versus emotional needs versus family and relationship needs. As you go up that rung, you know, the very top of that is something called self-actualization. It's this realization or this expression, full expression of who you actually are in the world. So fundamentally, that's what we're helping people to do at all different levels. You know, and we utilize the coaching business, whether that's one-on-one coaching or group coaching or speaking from stage and running your own events, as a way to accelerate that process. We use business and the life structuring in general as a way to accelerate that process of self-actualization, becoming the best version of yourself.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
Um, what is the best advice you would give right now? Like right now, I think there's a lot of, you know, craziness going on. That I don't know what have the best word for it, but there's, you know, social media, politics, like there's this, you know, this crazy time going on. What would be your best advice for an entrepreneur, like right now, like just on that part of it? Like what do you think they should, what would you say to them? I tell people like, so I don't even, it's completely different. Like I'm kind of like, I'm very concerned. I try to like be aware of things. Like I don't want to, I'm trying to be prepared for things in case, you know, whatever. But as an entrepreneur, from a business perspective, like what should they, what is your advice? I can't wait to hear this answer. That's actually for me. But like, what would your advice be for people right now owning a business and with the state of our society and our country?
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting question. I would say, you know, the things that come up for me is pay attention to where your focus goes. You know, I think and have a greater context to like what's actually really going on. I think it's so easy to get caught up with the emotionality, if that's even a word, of the situation and the illusion of what that means for ourselves, for our family, for our business, for the world, for our nation, and just get spinning in this fear, right? Um, and you know, I think a part of the presentation, you know, around that information is around generating more fear and generating more distraction from what's actually really important. You know, I think if you can focus, you know, for me, it's so interesting because people ask me this question all the time, and they're like, "Oh, what do you think about what's going on?" And honestly, like, not much. I don't really think much of it because for me, the way that I prioritize my attention is based on frequency. And there's lower levels of frequency and there's higher levels of frequency in my life, and I prioritize my attention based on that. So, you know, I also understand contextually that transformation and that's really the tip of the spear when it comes to our work. Transformation looks different than how people assume it looks. You know, I've been teaching for years this idea of comfort zone, but what I've been teaching in that inside of that context is that fear is the flip side of growth. And when you're experiencing a lot of fear, when you're experiencing a lot of worry and self doubt, what that means is that there's an opportunity to grow, there's an opportunity to transform. And anybody who's spent time in the game of transformation also understands that the beginning of transformation is like it's what it looks like destruction. And I think that, you know, over the last several years, and including the time that we're in right now, there's a lot of that beginnings of transformation. So, for me, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about what's taking place and what's transpiring in the world. And again, I understand that there's also universal forces, right? There's forces that are greater than humanity that are influencing humanity. So as much as humanity wants to struggle and much as the powers to be want to influence, there's a universal force that is influencing everything that's taking place. And I trust in that. I trust in that force. I have enough optics to like be connected to that and also see how that's transpiring in today. But then I'm actually really specific about my focus, right? Like, you know, there was a time in COVID where everyone was freaking out, right? Because they felt like, oh, business is not going to go on as usual. And that's true. Change is inevitable. Evolution is something that is necessary for a business owner. So if you're not in the space of innovation and knowing that, hey, things are changing and I better be ready for things to change and I better be optimal for things to change. And it's not about being prepared. It's about having a perspective and a willingness to do something different when the opportunity arises. I think it's probably the most opportunistic time as things start to change. There's lots and lots of room for people to grow dramatically like we have, just based on your ability to be able to focus, to pay attention to what's taking place, and to innovate in a way that's still foundational to what you do, but is always focused in a deep level of service when it comes to your business, to your clients, to the work that you're doing in the world.
You guys see what I'm talking about now? That is a bomb. That like, and that was for me. I touched on, you touched on so many things that like I needed, Bucky, for myself. Like
Good.
that was just, that's exactly, thank you so much. That was just a beautiful answer. Honestly. Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm sure everyone got something from that too, but Alex, you see what I'm talking about there? It's like, you have to listen very carefully to what he's talking about. And it's like, the perspective is awesome. Thank you. All right. So, I'm gonna let these guys ask you some questions, but I have one more question for you too.
Sure.
Okay. So everyone in here mostly has a gym. Most of the people listening to this have a gym or a studio. What would you suggest to them, their message be, okay, to their students, whether they're families, whether they're children, like, and because think about it, I think you just hit on so many points in the last question, that where people are emotionally reacting. I'm definitely one of them. Like I just that's it. I get emotional. I hear something crazy, then I get fired up. But these families, that question was for me. Thank you. But you know what I'm saying, Bucky? Like there's these families that are on their phones and they're distracted, and like kids are. What would you suggest these owners say to help them like navigate through this time?
I think one of the most powerful things about a gym is you have an opportunity to position what's happening in the gym as a personal practice, not just a physical practice, but a personal practice. So I think, as a gym owner, the advantage that you have and the opportunity that you have is to really ground people and connect people with themselves, through, the processes that are taking place in the gym, and actually make it about more than just the physical. There's so much benefit that comes when someone is committed to a practice personally. It just allows them to center, allows them to connect. I think the biggest thing is similar to the thing that I said before, is just like be mindful of what you allow. Be mindful of like the information that you let in and where you allow yourself to spin. And know that in some ways there's an agenda, right? And in that agenda, there's a certain outcome. And if you're gonna get caught in the agenda, like, it's going to be predictable to what your response is going to be. And that's by design. So part of the invitation is just to be different, be unique, be honest, and to ground yourself in a practice that's going to allow you to connect with that authenticity so that it can be better expressed.
Love it, brother. Thank you. All right,
Yeah,
guys. So
yeah.
I want to open up the Q&A for everybody on here, guys. You get one question as Bucky. So who wants to go first, real quick? Who wants to go?
Let me rewind it, Nick, for a minute, because I want to talk about gym owners in general. And I want to talk about the position that's really valuable as it pertains to transformation. And you might have heard this from Randy before. We kind of have a little bit of a different take on it. And I think it's really valuable for gym owners to understand. And I would just suggest, if you have a pen and a paper, this might be a good time to pull it out or to take some notes. So in business, there's a hierarchy of value, right? And that hierarchy of value goes from commodity to service to experience to transformation. Commodity being the lowest, and transformation being the highest as a monetary exchange. I think one of the things that you'll notice if you study business and if you study industry leaders, every industry leader has changed their position and therefore created a greater evaluation when it comes to their business. So I'll give you an example. Starbucks is a great example. It's a commodity, right? It's a cup of coffee. But part of what happened that made them the best in the world at a certain time was that they changed their proposition and they created this experience, this environment where people could go and they can work and they can network and so on and so forth. And it no longer became just about the coffee. And as a byproduct, their coffee is one of the most expensive coffees that you can buy. They set a new standard within the industry. Another example is the Four Seasons. The Four Seasons was also a commodity. It was a hotel room. And then what they do is that they went to service first, right? We're going to have the best service in the world, and that's going to change our value proposition and therefore the price of our hotel room. And now they're going into experiences and transformation. It's no longer just about the services, but the experiences that you can have while you're at these resorts, when you're going to these places, and the transformations that take place because of it. And if you look at any industry leader, Nike's a great example. Nike's also a commodity. It's a reusable good. It's clothing, it's shoes, it's so on and so forth. But really, Nike and every other luxury brand in the world, whether that's Gucci or Louis Vuitton or whatever it is, really what they're selling is they're selling a transformation. They're selling an identity shift. And it repositions themselves in the marketplace, which becomes a really valuable tool when it comes to creating value for clients. And the reason why I'm bringing this all up for gym owners is because you guys are in the position to position from a space of transformation and actually fulfill on it, right? Whether it's martial arts or whether it's fitness or whatever it is. And I know that that's really strong from a marketing perspective, but I think if you can really hone that in from a marketing, sales, and also fulfillment perspective, is that we design outcomes where transformation is is the process, and what we're really looking to do is systematize transformation and produce incredible results in people's lives. Then you create a different value proposition than just going for a workout or going for a class or learning a martial art or getting in shape. Transformation is one of these things that will ripple into all the different areas of someone's life. And people take it for granted. Like, if someone loses 50 pounds or 100 pounds, or if someone learns a discipline and learns a martial art and really transforms not only their physical body, but transforms their psychological bodies, transforms their emotional body, transforms their spiritual body, that literally impacts every single part of their life. And the marketing position is no longer about like, hey, let's lose the weight, but what happens when you lose the weight? Or hey, let's lose the martial art, let's learn the martial art. But what happens when we learn the martial art, and how does that impact every single part of your life? How does that impact your career, your family, your health, your psychology, your spirituality, your relationships? And really going for it from that perspective, and then offering solutions as it pertains to those different areas, becomes a very different value proposition, and just will differentiate you dramatically when it comes to the market.
Loved it, Alex. Another depth question answer. That's what we needed. That's why the movement we were trying to create. Think about it. All right. Versus me and Bucky were talking about this before. Look at that. Love it, Alex. Lots of notes. All right. Offers, deals, discounts, never talking about the transformation, never talking about the ultimate benefits. You're transforming people's lives. Love it.
Yeah, and something on what you just said is manipulation versus inspiration. This idea of we're going discounts, right? It's all manipulation, manipulating the market, versus this idea of inspiring the market, like what's really possible. And you guys are actually in a position to fulfill on it, right? And that's the beautiful thing about gym owners, is like you are actually in a position to fulfill on it. But one of the things that most people don't consider is they don't consider the impact that's outside of the gym.
I told you guys are smart for making it this early morning call. All right, Master Ace, what's your question for Bucky? Get your questions ready, guys.
Man, it's not a question. It's just I'm getting this paradigm shift because the alignment of what you've been talking about and him saying of what we're really trying to highlight, right? Because we've been so conditioned in the industry, so this is more of a commentary. It's
Yeah.
just like, well, it's back to school, so of course it should be a back to school sales. It's like you might as well have like a mattress sale, right? But it's not talking about how good the mattress is. So if you're going to talk about the value of what we have, whether it's the like you said, what is a transformation? What makes it tangible to someone to understand it or even want the benefit? Because we always talk about, right, what are the benefits of martial arts? but we don't always have great modeling of how to be able to express that to people who have not been in the industry. So for you to be able to use simple metaphors, right? I mean, it hits more home when you're like, yeah, it's a commodity.
Yeah.
We're not a regulated industry. Anybody can open up a martial arts school. Anybody can say they're a black belt, but it's our experience, it's our students, or our products, and how do we showcase that better so that other people will want to benefit that. And instead of putting it on sale and marketing it, this is actually what makes it more of a premium. And we should actually have that mindset in there. So I
Yeah.
love the way that you weaved it, because you even said, stop, let me go back and like retrace what you really meant by that. So I'm very grateful that you did that and we didn't gloss over that, because I got so many nuggets on my notes right now on how to be able to express it. Now I just have to have a little bit more clarity and put our way of speaking it into the public. So thank you so
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
for that. So it's more of a comment than a question. And I'm
Yeah.
going to let that marinate a little bit longer.
Yeah, cool. And I'm happy to jump in on that and share some specifics. I'll give you an example. The best mattress stores in the world, what do they sell? It's not mattresses.
Sleep.
They sell sleep, but more importantly, they sell what?
Comfort.
They don't even sell sleep. They sell the benefits of sleep. And this is the thing that you have to understand about transformational marketing and fulfillment, is that the best mattress companies in the world don't actually market mattresses. They don't even market sleep. They market the benefits of sleep. And that's what they're selling. They're selling the benefits of sleep, which the mattress provides. And that's the thing to think about when it comes to your gyms and it comes to your students, is like, what are the greatest results, not only from a martial arts perspective, but from a whole life perspective? How does that influence their relationships? How does that influence their grades? How does that influence their focus? How does that influence their confidence? How does that influence all the things across the board? And then honestly, start marketing it that way and start presenting those things forward, where it's, yes, we utilize martial arts for this level of transformation, but how it impacts people's lives is not about the martial arts alone. Okay. And all of you guys have that testimony because you guys have been through the work. So start with your own story first and ask yourself, hey, how did this change my life beyond the martial arts? Like, how did it change and transform my life? How does it impacted my relationships, my health, my psychology, my spirituality, my commitment, my focus, my academics, whatever it is, my career? How's it impacted me? And then see the patterns, because every teacher is a little bit different. Every studio is a little bit different. But the place to look first is within your own results, and then the results of your top level clients or your top level students.
I just want to reiterate again the bombs that he drops. I mean, again, the Alex, everyone on the call, everyone listening, the benefits of weight loss, the benefits of focus. Everyone just says, "Oh, we get focus, you get concentration." No one talks about. I mean, here we are, 30 years doing this, guys. Never heard that before, Alex. Ever. As a marketer or whatever people consider me, it's like I just realized for myself, like, oh my God, this was like an aha moment. I'm a oh my God moment. Bucky, thank you. That was
Yeah.
thank you for like your answer, your commentary, Ace, was incredible, and allowing Bucky to add on to that was fantastic. That was
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of context. We're working, so some of the people that we're working with are industry leaders, world experts, and part of the positioning is about positioning them as the best in the world at what they do, and understanding that some of these offers that we're putting together from a coaching perspective are anywhere from $250,000 to over $1 million offers, and people are happy to pay it because of the value proposition that is associated to it. So I don't know how much a gym membership is, or I don't know how much you guys are selling your offers at, but understand that this level of marketing and this level of conversation around transformation is something that is practiced by world leaders and industry leaders because of its effectiveness. The challenge for most people in this is that they can't fulfill on it, right? The opportunity that you guys have as gym owners and martial arts studios is that you can fulfill on it, and you have been fulfilling on it, and it's part of your day to day. You just need to shift your position in which it is that you're offering what it is that you've already done.
But Bucky, the thing that goes up to my head right away is just like they're not charging nearly enough. I mean, it's like we're not marketing it or positioning it clearly enough, and that's why we all fall into the average same thing as everybody else. You gotta get 10 students a month, you lose 4 students a month. Like, we're not selling.
Yeah.
I mean, you're saying you're
Yeah.
getting people to do $1 million offers. And here we
Oh
are,
yeah.
we're charging 200 hours a month, 300 hours a month.
Yeah, because you're selling the wrong thing. And you're in the old paradigm. It's like whenever I work with, I've in the past I've worked with a lot of fitness people, and the thing that they have a challenge with is they have a hard time transcending the paradigms of their industry, right? Well, most top trainers get paid X amount of $100 per hour, and they have X amount of certification. And I said to them, nobody cares about what the industry standard is. Transformation is not about it's not about what other people are doing. It's about the results. And the question is, what are the results worth? So if I help, a kid through martial arts to, raise their confidence and raise their GPA and show up in the world in a way that, have healthy relationships and have a clear vision for what it is that they want to create in their life and have discipline and a level of focus when it comes to getting things done. And ultimately what that means is that, they're a better student, they're a better human, they have a better trajectory as far as success. Like, what is that worth? What is that worth for a parent who's paying for it? What is that worth for in that kid's life? And the answer to that is priceless. It's priceless. If I can get my kid focused and connected to himself and clear on a vision about what he creates and congruent and showing up and consistently doing the things that he wants to do and actually having a vision for his life, like, what is that worth? It's priceless, right? And at that value proposition, you have a lot more room to be able to leverage the business that you're in so that you can actually create a business that's not only profitable, but also gives you the leverage to live the rest of your life where you're not tied to the business. And that's this whole piece on, legacy and leverage, which is the name of the organization, is like, you got to build a model that's going to give you the freedom to have the lifestyle so that you can show up as the best version of yourself. This is the self-actualization piece. If you're in a model that requires 40, 50, 60 hours a week, I don't care who you are. There's people that love their work, but at some point, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, it has diminishing returns on your health, on your wellness, on your family, on your total vision and freedom. For me, I think it's really important to create models and to leverage the model that you're in so that you can create a life that is actually a reflection of your honest self.
Oh my God. Yeah, this was great for me too, guys. I mean, this is just mind blowing. You're getting a lot of comments about mind blown. Thank you for changing my paradigms. Like, Bucky, are you able to tell us, like, any of these? I know you work with athletes. Are you able to talk about any of those people you've worked with, so these guys have some context of, like,
Yeah, Olympians, world experts, authors. They're industry leaders. Okay, are the people that we work with, whether that's coaching them one-on-one or helping them to create a coaching model or an events model. People that are in brick and mortar that are looking to get into a coaching space, and that's another big thing for you guys. One of the things that I was talking to Clinton about is coaching. What happens outside of the classroom, like, or outside of the dojo or outside of the studio. Like, there's such an opportunity to transform your business model by creating a coaching offer or an academic offer or a transformational offer that is different than what's happening on the mat. I'm sorry, I'm utilizing the mat, or what's happening in the studio. Really valuable add-on with zero overhead. This is one of the things that brick and mortar places get are like stunned about when it comes to the coaching industry. Is like, it's literally like a 95% margin because there is no overhead. And there's lots of different ways where you can add those things into what it is that you're doing. You can have a course on confidence. You can have a course on focus. You can have a course on, self-discipline. There's all kinds of different things that you can start, because the point is that the work that happens in the studio is different than the integration of that work into life, right? So there is a transition, and not everybody clearly gets it, because there's a transition and there's some mentorship that's required, and there's only so much time in the studio that every student's going to be in. So if you look at the studio as a practice, but you look at life as the game, you'll see a very lopsided disbursement of time, right? They're in the studio for how many hours a week versus how many hours a week are they in their life. There's a mentorship that's required that's really will allow the effectiveness of that transition and the transitions of the teachings and the principles. And again, it's not about just the effectiveness of that transition, but it's also about the speed of the transition. And this is some of the things that you're selling in that proposition, is that you're not only selling effectiveness to the result, but you're also selling speed. So rather than taking 10 years, we're going to do it in 6 months. And again, that becomes another value proposition. So you might keep the membership to come to the studio at the same price and then bolt on this coaching or mentorship thing that is about the integration of all the principles that we're learning. And it's just something like this. It's literally just getting on a Zoom call once a week with a group of students. And that could be 10 students, it could be 30 students, it could be 200 students. You're doing a Q&A, but you're integrating these different things. And then you're building, here's another piece, right? You're building a structure and a foundation of transformation. Transformation is not about the things that you know, it's about the things that you do, right? It's this idea of to know, to do, and to become. And you guys know this from your studios. It's like we might know something, but until we've done it multiple times, we aren't really that thing. And it's through the process of doing that we become that thing, or we become that movement, or we become that behavior, or we become that action, or we become that way of thinking. The life integration is exactly the same. And when you give them processes rather than philosophies in your coaching, now you're in a transformational coaching environment where the results are going to be predictable. And predictable results is one of these things that will give you advantage over every other studio in the world, especially when it comes to the integration of the principles in a greater efficacy and a greater speed. Okay? Do what I've done in 10 years. Do what I've done in the last 20 years in the next 6 months, in the next 18 months. Like, what is that worth? What is that worth to a kid from the area that you're from? What is that worth for an adult who's looking to get into better shape and create greater confidence and have greater relationship and all the stuff? What is that worth? Priceless. Okay. Which means that you are in a new value proposition. And even if you doubled your revenue of your studio, okay, even if you double the revenue and you charge an additional $200 a month for this course, you got to understand that additional $200 a month has zero, like 3 to 5% overhead, right? Which just now literally transformed your business and doubled your probably tripled your revenue, because your margin is probably like 50% on the membership. So you just tripled your revenue just by doing this thing that's actually going to serve people in a deeper way, in a way that's honest to who you are, and in a way that's congruent with the work that you've actually set out to do and why you started the studio originally.
I just have to say 3 things. Number 1, I don't even want to be on here. I have to get to work because this is just when I hear him talk, guys, when I was at the event, I just wanted to leave to go to work, right? Like that's number 2. You need to leave a comment in the marketing group and tell everybody they are crazy for missing this call, right? Number 3, the Brotherhood. I don't bring people from the martial arts industry. That's why everyone's doing the same shit in the martial arts. Sorry. You know what I mean? Everyone like that. That's why we're all getting the same results. We follow the same people. You get the same results. I've been saying this. You need a program that has nothing to do with your gym for 5 years. Bucky just articulated it better. And now I got to reach out to Bucky because I'm like, Bucky, we had to figure out a program for these guys to help them because they don't, how am I going to do this? Like, it's like, that was just, and also 4th thing, that's the mic drop. There shouldn't, I don't think we even need another question. I told you guys, right? Like, I've heard everybody. I've been in every mastermind you can imagine, all of them. Like, when me and Aka were at the last event with Bucky, I said, we have to get him to speak to our group. This guy just dropped, like, everyone else was really good. Like I said, though, he just, man, that was just mind blown. Alex, any questions? Please post in the group right now and tell them that they're crazy for missing this call.
I've been texting people this whole time and taking notes. My head crazy, crazy.
Bucky just helped me make at least me and Aka in our group, $1 million a year, guaranteed.
Easy.
Guaranteed. What am I doing? I'm saying to myself, what are we doing? Easy $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Wait, mind blown. Okay. Alex, do you have anything you want to ask Bucky? You're on mute, Alex. You're still on mute, brother. Just click the unmute button if you can. Okay, we lost Alex. Bill, do you have a question for?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Sorry, guys. Can you hear me now?
Again.
Okay. First of all, boof. Wow. Just incredible. Blew up my notes. All right, so this is a personal question. It seems like a lot of very intelligent men like yourself are really talking about higher frequency, higher vibration, tapping into something other than the realm that we're living in and walking around in. what are your personal inspirations for this kind of thinking? Where do you draw your source of information from that has you thinking on this universal conscious level? That's what you're sharing with us, and a lot of high level guys like you are sharing. So where does this come from?
Yeah, I think sometimes what we do is that we formalize a certain thing, and part of the formalizing of it through specific language, universal consciousness, high level thinking, this type of thing separates the normality of what it is. It's actually a really normal thing, right? Like this idea that everything's made up of energy. And that when we put ourselves in certain environments and situations, we're aware of certain energies. We've all been in places that feel great, and we've all been in places that don't feel great. And that's associated to energy, right? But the thing that's most important about energy is realizing that frequency, energy, is not just frequency and energy, but frequency, just like frequency holds information. So the example that I always give is like, you're hearing my voice right now, and you're seeing an image of yourself on this phone. That's all being transferred through frequency, right? And the most important thing about frequency is the information that is associated to it. It is not just about bathing in frequency or putting myself into that level of alignment. The access point is the frequency. The alignment is the information that comes from the frequency, and then the action that is taken as a byproduct of that information. If that makes sense. So when it comes to the inspiration, it's just life in general. It's about having a different lens when you observe your life and what's taking place in the world. It's that, like, those aren't just things that are happening outside of you. Everything holds an energy. These are not just things that are happening inside of me. Everything holds an energy. And how do I put myself where I feel the most connected, the most congruent with who I am? And for most people, that becomes, in some ways, a difficult question because they're disconnected from who they are. So the beginning of that journey is really about stripping back the layers, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, and spiritually, so that you can get to a place where you really understand, like, this is my absolute nature, not just my upbringing, not just my nurture, not just like who I've grown and experienced myself to be, but this is myself beyond the experience of my life experience. And from this perspective, like, this is what I'm the most aligned to.
Boom. Alan, Cheryl, any questions? If anyone else has any questions, put them in the chat because we're about 5 minutes left.
Not mind blown. Bucky, thank you. We've been struggling in so many areas. Nick, bringing this together, mind blowing. Bucky, you are the man. You really shared so much gold nuggets, and thank you for your time. Man, you're inspiring. You're just awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Connor Lewis, any questions, my brother?
Nope, that was awesome. Thank you.
Steve Phillips.
Man, he's too intelligent for me, dude. I gotta go back and re-listen to everything so I can comprehend it all. I mean, that's just the truth. So I think the guy's great. He's got a lot of great ideas, but again, it's hard for me to process because it's so intelligent. I just got to go back and listen to it all over again. I'm being honest. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I'm telling you the truth.
I appreciate the honesty.
He's got a lot of good stuff to say, so it's. I am being honest. I mean, I'm very, how I am. So yeah, he's good. He's great. I mean, it's like I write down, basic, things and stuff, but like the coaching thing and all those things like that, it's like I do that already without charging extra fees. And it's like, I do all those things, some of the things that he's saying, it's like I do, but there's a lot of stuff that he's saying that I don't do. Cause obviously, I'd be a millionaire. I wouldn't be part of the group right now, or I'd be on the opposite side.
Yeah. And I think, doing it casually versus doing it formally is a different thing, right? Like, yeah, I do that already. I'm already talking to my students, or I'm allowing them to call me on the phone calls. And the difference between casually and formally is the consistency and the intention behind it, right? So if I'm doing something formally where it's like, okay, well, how do I actually get the best out of my students? How do I really support them in these life transition? Then what happens is that there's a different intention, and there's a different focus, and there's a different consistency over time. And what happens in that scenario is that the results become predictable. And ultimately you're serving people at a deeper level, and you're also in a greater expression of who you are, which is there's double value there. But the thing that I want to mention, and this is the thing that I think is the most important for entrepreneurs. It's part of the reason why we host the firewalks and the different workshops that we host, is that we got to remember that our ceiling in our life and our business is really based on our perspective. Right. And there's so many things that we've experienced in our lives that have said that, hey, this is who you are in the world. This is your place in the world. This is what's good enough for you in the world. This is what's really good for you in the world. And if you're going to transcend that, if you're going to transcend your place in society, if you're going to transcend your position, which, most people having an aspiration or becoming a millionaire or multimillionaire or owning multiple studios or whatever it is, right? Like, if we're going to transcend our place in humanity, we really have to transcend our place within the thinking of who we are and what it is that we're capable of. And, fear is so present, for all of us. And it's kind of spins back to the original question of what advice would you give people in what's going on? Fear is so present. Really be conscious and be focused about, understanding that if I'm going to create something different in my life, not something better, right? You don't want to create a better version of your life, but if I'm actually going to transform and create something different, then that doesn't just start on the outside. That actually starts on the inside. I need to start showing up in a different way. I need to start thinking in a different way. I need to start addressing myself and considering myself and what it is that I'm capable of in a different way. If someone asks me if I have a question and I typically wouldn't raise my hand, that's the time that I need to raise my hand. If I feel like we all have this pattern in dialogue as it comes to our self-perception of hey, I'm this way and this is what it is, and da-da-da. And that subconscious frequency, that subconscious beingness is impacting every single day on our ability to be in our full expression. And if we can just change those things consciously, if we can be consistent about the work that we're doing, and you guys are already doing it, right? Consider that you guys are already doing it, and everything that you want to be already is in existence. It's just about you aligning to your highest truth, you aligning to your self-actualization, and not settling for what it is that you've experienced yourself to be so far. Just consider that it's already in existence, that your greatest contribution, your greatest expression, your greatest life, your multi-million-dollar existence is already a reality, but you're just not aligned to it because you think that you're you and not who you were looking to become. But again, what that means, different way of thinking, different way of moving, different way of acting, different way of showing up, and catching yourself sharing that BS story about I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I've been told all this, you know what I mean? You guys following on this? It is so important that you guys get this, because that is the thing that even with the right strategy, even with the best mentorships, even in the right economy, it will never work from that psychology. And if you're not willing to shift that psychology or focused on shifting that psychology, none of the strategies will work. On the flip side, if you can flip that psychology, if you can look at yourself differently and show up in the world in a different way, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. It doesn't matter what's taking place in the debates or the economy or the nation or globally. It does not matter, because your psychology is such that you will always find a way. You will always follow it through. You will always show up in a way that produces an incredible result, because that's who you are. And honestly, at the end of the day, doesn't matter if you're, what level you're at, if you're someone who's just getting started or someone who's an industry leader, we all face the same human challenges. I can't tell you how many industry leaders that I've worked with who are literally in the same place. Oh, I can't do this, or this is too hard, or this is how I've done. They're literally facing the same challenges. So just know that at every level, you're going to face the same thing, and understand that it's not about getting over the hump, but it's about committing yourself to the practice. Understanding that psychology is a practice, business is a practice, my life expression is a practice, and my ability to be able to show up in a way that's most aligned to me is my practice, right? It's not a thing I'm looking to do or accomplish. It's what I am. It's who I am. It's a part of my routine that gets me into the best version of myself. And I know that you guys get that, and that's part of the reason why I'm sharing it in that way. But I'm telling you, number one tool is you. Number one obstacle is you. And if you can fix those things and address those things, then the magic's in front of you. And it's not that you have to create it. You're just aligning to what already is.
Mic drop. See you later, guys. Yeah. I know everybody's mind is blown. They're posting everywhere about everyone. Cheryl's funny. She's like, you shouldn't even share this recording. They should have been here. I'm like, but
Yeah.
we've been trying to put this together, Bucky. We're definitely bringing you back again.
Let's do it.
I have to get you up one of our events too. One of our Brotherhood boot camps coming up in the fall. But guys, let's give Bucky a big round of applause, everybody. That it was badass. Okay, that was just, oh my God. Thank you so much for giving us the time, Bucky. We almost didn't do this call. He was sick. He's not even feeling good.
Yeah, they feeling good and kicked
Oh my
ass.
God. And I'm like, bro, I've been promoting this for a week. He's like, okay, I'll rally. I'm like, thank you.
Wow.
Let's listen to the
I
background.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
You know, like having the call is a really important thing, and you know, being a stand for showing up and service. You know, it doesn't matter what's going on for me. Like, if I can, when I step into this energy, there's a new version of me that emerges. So I appreciate you holding that space and holding me accountable to that.
Appreciate it, bro. And it's so funny. Guess who's texting me the whole time you're talking? Randy. He had no idea.
Tapped in, bro. Tapped in.
I know. He's on my phone. I'm like, can't look at it but it's like so fun. Yeah, brother. So, quick question. Do you have an event coming up that if anybody would like to go to one of your fire walks or anything, is there anything coming up soon or?
We don't have anything on the calendar right now, but you know, if you guys want to connect with me, you know, Nick has my information. All right. So just connect with Nick. He'll connect us and we'll sort it out that way.
Bucky, you're the man, brother. You are the man. Thank you so much, bro. I think I might have to come see you tomorrow. I don't want to go to I don't want to go to Manhattan, but if he's going to be there, I guess I got to go.
I'll go with you, Nick. Let's go.
Man.
Let's go, Aka.
Yeah, let's go.
What'd you say, baby? She's like, Nicole just goes, go ahead, go.
Well, Leah's going to be there. Bring Nicole.
I got it. That's all, babe. Leah's going to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're also going to be there for a couple of days. We're bringing the kids out, so we're going to spend a little time hanging around.
We'll be there. Only because you're going. Only because you're going. Like I don't like going to all these dinners, but it's like you're just worth it, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right. Love you guys. Be well.
Love you too,
Thanks,
man.
Bucky.
Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Thank you.